All right, peace to the planet Earth. You know what it is. Adisa Banjoko chilling with my man D'Juan Owens from Fight for Uganda. You know what
That's
I'm saying? He is an MMA fighter. He is a serious chess player. He is a serious and real b-boy. You know what I'm saying? And so we're going to talk about kind of like what's going on with black men in America right now, especially as it relates to hip hop, right? Because it's very hard to have any conversation about any aspect of hip hop ever in history and it not be directly correlated to what's happening inside the world of black men. So we're going to have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to Bishop Chronicles, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm feeling good, brother. Well, first thing first, man, I appreciate you for having me. But look, man, I'm maintaining, man. Your brother's feeling melanated, motivated, ready to do my thing, man. Chop it up with my brother.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I love that. You know, for people that don't know Fight for Uganda, will you tell them what you do and why it's important? Because I think it's important, obviously.
Appreciate you, brother. So yeah, we're basically a nonprofit. You know, we focus on combating gender-based violence. So we use in the same way that hip hop chess uses hip hop and chess as a liberatory tool, we use the martial arts as a liberatory tool. So we hold self-defense seminars, and in addition to having a technical portion that shows pretty much like defensive tactics and common escapes from positions that would be common, wrist breaks, mount escape, body lock escape from the back, body lock escape from the front, one hand choke, two hand choke escape, things like that. We also have a lecture portion, and the lecture portion focuses on you know, common misconceptions about consent. You know, what is intimate partner violence? What is domestic violence? What is gender-based violence? We talk about you know, men's role in respecting and protecting women. We talk about peer accountability. We even break down situational awareness, and depending on where we're having a seminar and we got time, sometimes we'll dip into a little bit of predator psychology, but we basically trying to put in the work to combat gender-based violence, man. It's something that's very, very, very important. And, you know, we need to address that in our community before we give someone else the ability to, you know, try to come in and fix me. We need to fix ourselves.
Let's talk about that issue of consent for a lot of young, especially teenage boys and young adult males. All right. Like teenage boys for sure. But, you know, can you talk about, you know, quite honestly, this sounds silly for me to even have to ask, but what is consent and how does a man know when it's been given, or how should he expect it to be shared with him so that he is not confused about what the potential scenario is?
For sure. No, listen, man, that's a good question. That's a great question. It's a question more of us need to ask, because most of the time, you know, we get our ideas of what consent are from television. You know what I mean? From television, from the radio, basically some form of media. And you know, a lot of time is, you know, people's assumption of consent is just is someone not saying no, or like, you know, it's this idea of like, you know, try a little harder. And you know what I mean? And this is one thing we got to understand. Society at large is complicit in that. You understand? Men, women can still have what we call internalized misogyny, the same way from a racial perspective someone can have internalized racism. It's still
because you could be black but working for white agendas, essentially.
Speak on it, it's still an internalized oppression. So basically, when we talk about consent, it is someone who, one, is of age and able to consent, because that's
there, Africa Bambaataa.
Come on now, and as men, and we'll get into that later.
Real.
We gotta draw the line in the sand and not be tiptoeing around certain stuff. You understand? So, but he's a prime example. So first thing first, someone has to be of age to consent. Okay. Also, consent is basically someone agreeing and saying, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. I am engaged in this. And another thing about consent too, you know, are they of age, and are they coherent, right? Are they intoxicated? You know what I mean?
Talk about that, man. I recently heard some high school boys talking about the idea of getting young girls drunk, you know what I'm saying, at parties and wooty wap. Yeah. And I was like, yo, man, that's insanity. Okay. Don't be a rapist, bro.
And the thing is, this isn't to defend them, but once again, this is a societal thing. They don't get this from nothing. You know what I mean?
This is true, right?
100%. And even, you know, we hear whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs,
you know what I'm saying?
Any type of inebriant that's supposed to just, you know, numb someone's senses. And besides the fact that priority is us us not wanting to harm someone. It's also, you know, for your own safety as well. You know what I mean?
Right, because you don't want to wake up and get accused of something. You know what I mean?
You hear me?
You know, because you weren't really paying attention and you was, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. So this is something that, unfortunately, you know, the education system, if we think of like public school, it's not something that's really focused on. It's not something that's really addressed. I don't want to.
In the religious houses of worship, the conservative position is so high that you won't even have conversations about this stuff, even if the congregation is actively dealing with it, which, quite frankly, it often is. And that's not an attack on Christianity. I'm talking about Muslims, Christians, Jews. It is a problem across the board. Buddhists, you know what I'm saying? Around the world, right?
And if we're honest about it, that's a great point, man. But to piggyback on that, it's a lot of hypocrisy, right? There are adults who are, I don't know if it's, you know, that it's selective memory or what.
Loss or what,
not talking about what they did when they were young, and they created a new standard that, I'm not saying it's impossible, but like I said, they weren't held to that standard.
Right, and they didn't hold to it, and they didn't try to, right?
100%, right? And also because of time, sometimes people are so far removed from not only just, you know, their hormones, but the kind of the psychology that a child has, and the kind of social orientation that a child has. So we have to have some real honest conversations, you know what I mean, with these children, with these youth, especially with the standard that we want to hold them to, you know what I mean? And the life altering effects that, you know,
walking that path can bring you down, right?
For sure. Even with consent, right? Even with consent, when we think of the ramifications of pregnancies that weren't expected, or STDs, like we really have to address this stuff with children. And a lot of times we don't, because people think to address it means we're saying that we're allowing them to do it. So we turn a blind eye to it until something bad happens, and then it's like, you know,
everybody's up in arms and it gets wild.
On here, man, but it's you know.
No, I hear you. So let me run something by you though. I guarantee you there are men watching this right now who feel that this conversation is probably overblown in some way. Who feel that, you know, come on, man, it's not that bad. Come on, man, it's not right. Now you've given a lot. I've given a lot of myself. I think I gave my first women's self-defense seminar to teenage girls at John O'Connell High School, I think. I want to say 2009. You know what I mean? I want to say it was like 2009. I know you know, and I've done several. I used to teach the women's class over at Zaytuna College with the men. Now they have a woman's teacher, which is dope. And, you know, like understanding how big this problem is of rape. Can you talk about that? I mean, like, can you talk about what like the women that you met while training them in Uganda, and can you share some of their stories so that men understand that this is not about America, this is not about Africa, this is not about China, this is about the whole world. Please share some stories, bro.
It's astronomical. It's so normalized. Like we live in a social system where there's just such a, you know, a benign neglect over a glaring problem until it hits home, right? Until it's your daughter,
until it's your cousin or someone in your family. Absolutely.
And the culture, there's so much that enables this culture, like the lack of accountability, victim blaming, which we can get into that. Victim blaming, that's a conversation in itself, right? Because you have people that victim blaming from a place of maliciousness, but you also have a victim blaming from a place of wanting to remove themselves from vulnerability. Right. And whether it's right or wrong, this may be like an element of psychology that has some bearing in terms of like self-preservation. If I remove myself, if I blame the victim, then I can say, okay, something that they did.
She led that, brought her to herself, and that ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right. But here's the psychology behind that. When they say something they did may have led to that, essentially they're saying, because I won't do that thing, it won't happen to me. You see what I'm saying? So we're trying to remove their own vulnerability as opposed to saying like, no, look, we're vulnerable. So
that's really deep, because my daughter, there was a situation that I got into on on a bar train one time because this dude was trying to intimidate this young Asian woman, and all these dudes were standing there watching. So I had to check that fool, and he got off the bar train. And I immediately, when I got out of the bar station, I called my daughter, and I said, "Hey, listen, this dude was completely intimidating and harassing this woman." And I said, there were 9 men standing there, and they did nothing. Like if I wouldn't have stood up, that fool would have kept doing what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? And so she was like, "Oh, relax, Dad. I'm not stupid. I'm not like that." And I'm like, "Listen to me. You don't understand. You got to train jujitsu." I said, please listen to your father right now. Go train jujitsu. Please. I said, I'm not playing. I said, because these dudes don't care, and I want you safe, you know?
Yeah, and this is like, you know, I don't want to get off topic, but to speak on something you're talking about, this kind of, again, this lack of like bystander intervention, so much of this is a result of just, you know, again, like this type of apathy, this individualism that's constantly projected onto people. Like, look, I got to get mine. Like, you know, that ain't my business. And that's something, I mean, it is really a backwards culture at this point. And we need a type of, we need a reorienting of masculinity. We need to develop a righteous masculinity, a masculinity as a protective force, a masculinity that nurtures, believe it or not. I know a lot of times.
That is loving.
For sure. In these spaces, a lot of times, there's like a wholesale, you know, throwing out masculinity, like masculinity in itself is inherently violent.
Or cancerous.
This is true.
Right.
But we need balance. We need balance. We really need people to, especially men, to use the control, the influence that they have over other men and boys in their life. Right. And that's something that's
and teach real things, man. But talk about Uganda, though. Talk about some of the women in Uganda.
Yeah,
I want you to humanize this mission that you're on, so people understand.
So to go into that a little bit more, basically, like I said, we prioritize combating gender-based violence. So the first time I went, you know, it was really on some hip hop stuff. You know, my brother said I used to, you know, be a b-boy back in the day. Met a brother from an organization called Breakdance Project Uganda. You know, we chopped it up, you know, on the hip hop tip. I'm out there doing my thing. I had a fight coming up in Brazil, but the fight fell through. My family was already ready for me to be gone for 2 weeks. I said, you know what? Let me go out here. When I got there, obviously I was still fighting professionally. A lot of martial arts in the community found like, yo, this is pro fighter, you know, here from America.
He's doing it.
Seminars, right? So I taught some kickboxing seminars, but they really went into MMA, but they didn't have the equipment, the access to a lot of the, you know, the grappling stuff. Taught some MMA seminars. Then when I was leaving, after the seminar, because these were all athletes I was training, there was a woman who came up to me and she's like, you know, hey, you know, can you teach me, you know, something that could help my daughter
really work
in this type of situation? And like, man, you know, and I told her like, you know, honestly, with this, you know, the amount of time we have, there's nothing I could teach you right now that you'll remember that you can go teach her. But tell you what I will do. I will hold a self-defense seminar tomorrow if this time is good for you. So anyway, we set it up, and at that point, obviously, I did jujitsu. I don't know if I was purple or brown at the time.
Yeah, I think he was purple. I remember.
Right. Yeah. But I hadn't like focused on self-defense like that. So everything that I did was about competing against someone who is a professional fighter or brown belt, black belt. Right. So that was an education that happened, a reorienting, finding ways to break it down, make it plain. When I taught the seminar next day, there were so many people there, man. Like there were just, I mean, dozens and dozens of people there, man. And then again, I didn't make a flyer. I didn't put online. Word just spread through word of mouth. And I taught one seminar. So many new people came. I wound up teaching another seminar. And I saw that, man, people are really receptive to this. And not only are they receptive, but the men there, they felt empowered. Like that's the first time I realized like the type of, influence that you can have being a fighter, even though it's silly, but we got to be honest in terms of how some people.
No, warrior. I think every culture loves warrior traditions of whatever their culture is. You know what I'm saying?
100%. So regardless of how I felt about that, I really like, okay, if this exists, I need to use it to my advantage, right? If I have some influence on what a man is supposed to do, the young brother said, okay, well, shit, if he says a man's supposed to respect and protect, then that's what I'm gonna do. Mm-hmm. So then taught some seminars. It was dope. Flew back home, and then that's all I kept thinking about was like, man, got to do it again. So I kind of did a lot of research. I was already a big student from a sociological perspective. I wanted to major in sociology at one point.
Right.
But so I really started kind of breaking down the nuts and bolts of like, why this happened, why it's allowed. Got into a little bit of psychology too, from a predator perspective, and then also started kind of like curating a system that I thought was effective that I didn't see. Because no disrespect to anybody, but I don't want to be tiptoeing. I saw a lot of jujitsu, and I saw a lot of self-defense that was like women's self-defense, but it was only techniques. And the thing is, violence does not happen in a social vacuum, right? What is the political and social context that this violence is happening in? So then I realized if I'm doing this in Uganda, the analogies and metaphors that I use to explain this, I need to break it down so it's culturally relevant. And then I just kind of got hooked on it, man. It's been a process ever since, man. So
first of all, I'm really proud of you, and I'm honored to know you truly for you doing that. Because I remember you going out on your own dime, coming back, going out again on your own dime, and it's very powerful. And this is why people need to really look into Fight for Uganda, and you need to follow D'Juan online. You know, I have struggled with this problem inside jiu-jitsu, but while pegging it a problem in jiu-jitsu, I actually think it's a problem in martial arts in America, North American martial arts, possibly European, but I can't speak to that, to be honest. You know what I'm saying, brother? I ain't really seen it. But I just want to say the problem that I have is, and I wrote about this from the beginning of my journey in jiu-jitsu. I used to write for a small magazine called Vale Tudo News. Shout out to Eddie Goldman. You know what I'm saying? OG right there. For real. Look up Eddie Goldman. Follow Eddie Goldman, NHB News. But the thing is that I feel that inside American martial arts, we have a vacuum of warrior philosophy while we are overdosed in warrior pageantry.
That's right.
And I first noticed this. I'm going to tell you guys something that people forget, and I want, if I'm wrong, call me on this. One of the first episodes of The Ultimate Fighter, no disrespect to Dana White, I'm just telling this story. And if you're a kid right now, get off. I'm about to tell you a story that's not cool. You know, basically, if you've never seen The Ultimate Fighter, they put these dudes in a house. They, you know, have them team up. You know what I'm saying? So it's about the house tension, the team captains, right? The frat boy, right? I didn't like that on the show. I don't watch that show ever. I only watch the winners at the end when it's time to be on the UFC. I don't care about all that meat house, frat boy, whatever. So here's what happened. This is a true story. This is gross. One of the guys hated another guy. And so he actually took some of his own body fluids and put it on his sushi and then wrapped it up and put it back. And I couldn't believe not only that happened, and the dude ate the sushi, bro. Let me tell you about attempted murder cases that a G like me would get. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
And they allowed murder,
bro. And it aired, and I was like, wait a minute, like this is nothing. And then, meanwhile, a few seasons later, one of the houses has like a chessboard, and they just pan right past it. And I said, wait a minute, y'all ain't gonna show the fighters playing chess? You ain't gonna talk about who plays chess? You ain't gonna talk about the philosophies? Never in the history of the Ultimate Fighter show did they say, oh, they always brought, yeah, this guy, he can kick everybody's head off. This guy, he can strangle everybody. This guy, he can do all the leg locks. They never said, this guy is a master of military strategy. I bring you Robert Greene, right? 48 Laws of Power. Talk to him about your fight. Here is, you know what I mean? Someone who wrote a book on Machiavelli, or here's a Stoic philosopher, and now you can get your mind right. None of that was ever part of the Ultimate Fighter TV show. It was always about, not trying to be racial, I'm just telling you, white boy, frat house, animal house, madness. 100%. And I hated what it did to MMA. And I really hated how it corrupted jiu-jitsu because it brought a lot of that meathead vibe into the academy, and it didn't used to be, well, I don't want to say it didn't used to be that way. It was much smaller.
It wasn't as much. The thing is, they were appealing to what they thought was their target demographic. You can even look back at the music that they have for the show, It to Pieces. It was like this kind of rock and roll type of thing. Right. And that's why initially MMA was associated with like some rocker punk skinhead
hard rock alley fight vibe.
Yeah, this is what people thought, right? And it's like, no, these are professional athletes, man, that have to train multiple disciplines, and then the added pretty much a new art of the blending of those arts, man.
Come on,
you know, that wasn't an accident, man. That was by design, and I'll go in a little bit more because I know what you're getting at. Like you know, pageantry. Yeah, you know, you're right. You being nice, but it's these jokers are hypocrites. You know, these jokers are really hypocrites. And I think, like you said, it's indicative of American culture and maybe culture in general. But the problem I have, because martial arts still exists within that culture, right?
Word is bond.
The problem that I have with it is the hypocrisy. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll use this kind of martial arts, Budo, warrior code shit from a marketing perspective, but they won't practice that stuff inside the gym.
And they won't even suggest that it should be practiced in a private space, right?
Oh yeah, and you know what I'm saying? Hold people accountable. People who have violated the sanctity of
that relationship of like, dude, if you know somebody that I just will never stand, it's a martial arts teacher, a mentor, whatever, whoever crosses that line at all with the student, bruh. And when you see it happen to young students, especially, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. You know I'm a nonviolent dude. You know I'm a nonviolent dude. You know I've been preaching nonviolent. Listen, the only reason I still believe in the death penalty is because I want these dudes off the earth. I think that stuff it's one of the highest violations. The victims have so much trauma. You feel me? And they always worry, are they going to escape? Are they going to? No, they're not going to escape because we're going to clear them out, player.
The thing is, man, if we honest about it, it is so akin to a murder. It is a social death. And then here's the crazy thing. It may even be worse in some incidents, in some incidents, because murder or death, the killing of someone, there's sometimes that it could be justified, right? Someone trying to
absolutely.
Someone trying to kill someone in your family, you kill them. Somebody's a serial killer. Somebody's got to. There's all kind of ways. You know what I mean? But when it comes to rape, when it comes to child molestation, when it comes to pedophilia, there is never a justification. There's never anything. But if we look at how the laws are set up, and you look at how many pedophiles and how many rapists we have out here, and they say, oh, okay, you're going to be on parole for this many, you're going to serve 6 months, be on parole for 4 years, and then you got to register as a sex offender or something like that, which don't mean shit. You still got these motherfuckers moving out of school. So what does that say about the collective ethos of the society, that we don't take shit like that seriously? And I'll tell you what it means. The people who have a monopoly on power are not the people who are most likely to be sexually assaulted. So the laws don't reflect that. But I'll tell you what it do reflect, because they are, you know, in a position where they're just as vulnerable as you and I to get mugged or something like that. Now, you know, to rob somebody with a gun, now the consequences for that are so high. But in terms of like someone stealing millions or tens of thousands, dozens of thousands in a white collar crime or something like that is low. So I don't want to go too heavy on it, but basically you'll see that laws are predicated on how likely they are to have been done by people in a position of power, and how likely the people in a position of power are to be being the perpetrators or being affected by that harm. And it's fucked up, but that's reality. Which is also why I say I'm not waiting on anybody else to solve problems in our community. Right. Because if they solve them, they're not doing it on the basis of
my sanctity, of my well-being, and the well-being of my daughters and sons, and uncles and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is, you know, as I preach nonviolence, I have to admit that I struggle with this issue of the death penalty as it relates to, you know, I just don't have any tolerance for it. Like I don't, and I don't, as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay for these fools to be housed nowhere, bruh. Right? Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, here's what makes so much wrong. Right? Because we talked about victim blaming, right? And that happens, right? Yeah. Periodically, we do find situations where a man is wrongfully accused. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Periodically, we do find situations where it was just hella weird. I don't know what was going on. You feel me? And so I'm not trying to like give any pass to nobody, but we have to make sure, because the other thing that I don't like in the cancel culture, right, is one person say one time, oh, he did wooty wap, and everybody just says, oh, you know what, it must be true. Yeah, and that person gets dogpiled, and that happens to lots of people of all genders. And all I'm saying is, listen, you know, we need to stick to facts and be really real. If we know what's really happening, we need to step in. That's all I'm saying.
Speak of the court of public opinion is very powerful, right? But I'll say this, you know, in addition to that, when it comes to racialized men, when it comes to outgroup men, we have to really be honest of the likelihood of, you know, when that happens and who that's more likely going to happen to. If you look at that organization, I don't know if you're familiar with the Innocence Project.
No, sir. I'm sorry. I don't know.
They're an organization that they do good work, but they focus on freeing prisoners that were wrongfully accused, and they use DNA, right? It's called the Innocence Project. And they've gotten, you know, thousands of people out of jail for they didn't commit, usually sexual assault and rape. The vast majority of them are
black. And you're going to find that especially in states like Texas, Georgia, all them southern states, Florida, you know what I'm saying? But it's everywhere, you know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. So and this is where things get really grimy because...
That's my only reluctance, right? That's my only reluctance with that is how, if I say the system that I feel like is inherently anti-black in some way...
Like inherently, dog.
Weaponize anything as an instrument to exact that type of state-sanctioned violence. So it's tough.
Yeah, man. It's very deep, man. It's very deep. Now, you know, I want to talk to you about this warrior philosopher thing. You know, anybody that knows me, if you really listen to this show, you've already heard me. You know, the Tupac show about Machiavelli and stuff like that. You know that I talk about chess and life strategies and things like that. You know, I've always believed that American martial arts had this vacuum of culture and that was based on racism. That like the average white person will come in, start training, and they'd be like, yes, sensei, no sensei, yes, sifu, no sifu. And as soon as they get their black belt, whatever, bro, we're chilling here, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, bowing gets removed, all the stuff, right? Now let's look at bowing, right? Because Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo, said that you bow to thank your opponent for improving you. Right. That's why you bow. You don't bow because you're scared of them, right? That you wouldn't have a chance to do any of what you're doing. If you do the perfect kick, you do the perfect submission, the perfect throw, you couldn't throw yourself. You couldn't do it yourself. That you need an opponent so you have gratitude for your training partners, etc. Right? But little by little, all that stuff gets erased, right? I love Bruce. And then, oh, you a JKD dude, but you ain't talking about no Taoism. I don't see no Buddhism. I don't see no quotes on the wall. I don't see no references, you know what I'm saying, to the Asian roots of what you do. And in the same way, I find it in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where a lot of them be like, yes, my friend, like running around like pretending that they was Brazilian. And then as soon as they got their stuff, bruh, they start talking about Brazilian monkeys. We ain't got to listen to them. We know how to fight on our own. And so like that has really been troubling for me as a martial artist, you know? Yeah. And because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu didn't have a philosophy, I was attracted to Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Islam, Stoicism. I pull whatever I can in to inspire me. And so I say all of that to say, what are the books that inspire you as a warrior and help give you a sense of centeredness as a man and define what your honor code is?
Yeah, so two things. I'm gonna answer a question, but I want to address something you was mentioning. Yeah, man, like with America, and I don't want to just beat up on America, but we're just, you know, a lot of West.
We have to air some of this out.
Right, there's a hyper-capitalism, man, and so the commodification of art, the commodification of everything, that makes it just easily packageable and resellable, and it's not a focus on, you know, the kind of essence, the cultural essence and the spirituality that and the context that these martial arts were developed in, and that's why you can have people who are black belts in jiu-jitsu or high level in some other martial arts, but they have no kind of no fire, but they don't have that martial arts ethos, you know what I mean, of honor, integrity, commitment, and a prioritization of advocating for justice. That's why you don't see that, right? But for me specifically, I would say not so much as a book, more so of a philosophy. So as you know, I'm a Pan-Africanist. Mm-hmm. So in addition,
what does that mean to somebody who doesn't know what that means, though?
Yeah, a Pan-Africanist is someone who advocates for the solidarity of African people wherever they are, you know, on the globe, and we understand that we have not only a collective history but also a collective fate, our future, our destiny to a certain degree is intertwined. We don't separate ourselves by what we call colonial lines or colonial
land masses or language barriers and things.
Yeah, because these things were Right, because these were imposed on us for the majority of the time, if we're honest about it. Now, it would be different if we created them ourselves, then people can do that. But for the most part, African people, these colonial barriers and these languages that we speak, they were imposed on us, right?
True.
So with the rejecting of that, it is a reclaiming of kind of our African mind. But to get more into the philosophy aspect beyond African liberation, like I always say, at this point, this isn't just about Africa or anyone's liberation. We're talking about the ability for this planet to sustain human life.
Right. For humanity to be in tune and exist. For sure. And even this planet, to like that's so when we think about prioritizing justice as a Pan-Africanist, I'm against all systems of oppression. I want to dismantle all systems of oppression, but I'm not stopping there. We put a semicolon there, but that's not a period. And I want to replace those systems with a system of justice. I don't want to replace this system with anything else backwards. So anybody who's about justice, regardless of how they're coming into, regardless of what their orientation is, you know, we have the same destination, and that's justice. So we're going to get there. So if you're somebody who's advocating for LGBTQ rights, if you're someone who's fighting gender oppression, if you're fighting ableism, if you're fighting ageism, if you're fighting any, it doesn't matter. I want to be fighting ageism. I'm 50.
What? No, anything. You hear me?
I'm being stupid, but
look, it's real. It's real. So the thing is, like, I want to be an ally. I want to support, but I'm about justice. So that, to me, that is my guiding principle, right? It's not a religion because it's a goal.
Right.
So, and I'm not knocking anyone else's belief system, but to me, one problem that I see with a lot of people's spiritual system, it doesn't require anything of them but to believe in something. But to me, we got to fight for something. You see what I'm saying? Like, see, that's one thing about oppression. That's one thing about evil. It doesn't just, there's no sloganism. It actually goes out into the world and oppresses. So people who are about justice, we can't just be hoping and thinking in our mind, or say,
you have to be acting.
Speak on it. And a lot of times we have to go out and seek that outside of what just affects us as individuals.
Right. No, I think that's really fair. Now, moving towards hip hop, man. I've had a lot of problems since this situation between Tory Lanes and Megan Thee Stallion popped off. I was really pissed off because, quite frankly, I felt like, and I mentioned this before on a show with the sister named Dr. Tangi Gilliam, who's really amazing. She's out of New Jersey. You guys should meet anyway. But my point is that, there's a lot of dudes who sit by and don't do nothing when other dudes be like slapping women and shoving women and calling them all out their name and whatever, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm disappointed in a lot of you in hip hop, especially you rappers who act like you hard, especially you revolutionary style rappers who swear, you know what I'm saying? You about that life and woo whoop. And then you see black women being abused and you don't say nothing. You don't say nothing to hold this young dwarf accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a straight dwarf, bro. Like, we have to be honest. Being a dwarf is not a crime. However, shooting at a woman is a crime. You know what I'm saying? Because you feel rejected, because you feel angry. You know what I'm saying? And I was really upset, not just by his immature and outrageous actions, but how silent so many black men were. Now, to be honest, I think Chance the Rapper, Bun B, there were about 5 rap dudes, I think, that stepped up and spoke. But that is like, look, first of all, if you go online and we find the list of men who stood up, I'm gonna salute all of you. But what I'm saying is, as proud as I am of that 5%, the spectrum of hip hop was so silent, and I felt like, man, y'all some cowards, bro. Like, y'all some cowards, bro. In the 80s, I'm not saying it didn't happen, because I remember reading about women being like, Yank, so-and-so called them a bitch and nothing happened, or so-and-so slapped them at a party. I'm not saying that it never happened, but I'm saying it was more likely in my era, late 80s, early 90s, if you were trying to get stupid with a woman, bro, dudes would straight mop you, bro. You would get jumped.
That's right.
But now we have this broken, fragmented culture where, you know what I'm saying? Tory Lane's cool, though. Nah, bro. He need to get clotheslined on sight. In fact, I actually sent Megan Thee Stallion a message, and I was like, hey, listen, please train jiu-jitsu with me for 6 months, and next time you see Tory Lanes, you can just beat him yourself. You don't have to have nobody do nothing for you. But she didn't hit me back. Nevertheless, I know she didn't see it. But what I'm saying is I felt like I had to do that. You know what I mean?
No, that's
because
real, man.
Go ahead now. Speak on something.
No, that's real. I think this kind of this passivity and this lack of wanting beef or to be seen, because I don't believe the majority of people were in agreement with it, but your silence is compliance to the extent that you don't set a standard to be held to. Like, this dude should be excommunicated. He should never sell another fucking album, period.
Spotify should be like, you're out. You know what I mean?
He should starve to death.
But is that fair if there's no court case, if there's no, you know what I'm saying?
So what? Well, we don't need that, but this goes back to what I talk about, our community not needing other people because
to validate them, know what I mean?
Speak on. Like, the thing is, one, we know he did it. We also know the type of psychic violence this sister dealt with because she didn't want to say he did it.
See, she's looking out for him anyway because she knows how the white man's going to do you, even if you did her wrong. And I felt bad for her. That's got to hurt so much.
Yeah, you see the precarious position that black women are put in too often, right? So with that, for people to still be, I mean, man, when she came out with it, basically telling the damn truth, which is not protecting, someone who shot her, who obviously, who's to say he won't shoot somebody else, telling the damn truth, and then you got goofballs online talking about, that's snitching. Well, first of all, as a grown man, can you let these motherfuckers know they don't know what snitching is? Snitching is when you and I do a damn crime. I get caught, and then they try to take
lean on you to say my name,
or give me some kind of trinkets, and I tell, or you're just an informant who's working for the police, telling the damn truth about something that happened. She's a civilian. She's not somebody who, just don't get me started on these clowns. But that's how bad it was. And for these rappers, like I said, there was a few. Willie D, Bun B, and Chance said something, and I'm not knocking him, but
he was the first one though. Nah, blood, I'm gonna salute him first, bro. He was the first one, so I gotta give it to him, bro.
I respect it, but I need these dudes like yo, clap these dudes, like come out as hard as you would as y'all come out.
Yeah, if he shoved your homeboy, you'd be all brandished out. Woo, woo, bing, 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 right? But then it's a black woman, everybody's silent. Yo, more Alizé, God. What?
Yeah, man. And and it's disgusting, and not only disgusting for the kind of the people who are really established, right? Who really set the bar for what's legitimized. You know what I mean? They was definitely silenced on their part. I'm talking about people with like some real
weight in the game.
Right. They ain't say a fucking thing, man. They didn't say a damn
It's really
thing.
tragic, man. And you know what hurts, bro? How you can see the hurt on black women's faces.
Yeah, because
in the shadow of that silence, right?
We deal with that, right? Every black man.
I get DMs all the time. When you gonna talk to these brothers about how they be woo woo? You know what I'm saying? And dude, I'm not even making an excuse for them. You know what I mean? I'm making no excuse for what's inexcusable, bro.
Yeah, collectively, we aren't doing enough. Right. You know what I mean? We are bullshit.
We have to own that truth.
We do, because now we need to address it, but we don't need to deny it. Oh, well, I'm doing it. Well, you ain't enough. So when you see women saying like, oh, well, black men ain't protecting black women and women rob, you can't be mad at somebody for saying it when you see stuff like that. And again, it's not about what he did. It's about what the men in that field did not do and did not say.
It's both.
But the thing is, we've let it get to the point where there's just no accountability.
Yeah, that's word.
When Lil Wayne,
but was there ever? See, this is where I start to have problems within my own head and heart, right? Because I'd be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But then what about when Dr. Dre was mopping D Barnes? Yeah,
but I also don't think that everybody knew like we knew this. You know what I mean?
I don't know, blood. I felt like it, but I'm on the West, so that's different. You know what I mean? It's very fair that as a national story, it may not have resonated. On the West, this was a big deal, and we all knew Dre completely unnecessarily was punching and socking D Barnes because Ice Cube disrespected her. Oh, man.
You're right.
That was like horrible. That was one of the worst moments in hip hop history.
Yeah, I agree. And it's something that we have to address. We have to speak on. We have to set a tone for what's not going to be accepted. And the thing, this isn't the same thing because it's something totally different. But the example of like how there's just no respect, there's no sanctity, there's nothing that's off limits. When Lil Wayne said that shit about, I don't even want to repeat the lyrics, but you remember what he said about beat that up like Emmett Till.
Yep.
The fact that this Negro, let me chill. The fact that this dude could even show his face in public after that, shame on black folk. Shame on all of us. The fact that he sold one more record, had one more interview. At what point, if you can say that, you can do anything. You talking about a baby. You talking about a boy that was murdered, that was lynched.
From the South, where you're from, though.
From a damn lie, which even if it wasn't a lie, it wouldn't matter. But from a lie, and now, which honestly kicked off the energy that galvanized the civil rights movement after that, right? To say some disrespectful shit like that in a lyric, and so like the state of hip hop is disgusting, man. It's out of control, and I'm not someone who thinks that is an accident either, because we understand hip hop, to me, is one of the most powerful tools of communication and influence in the world. It's the most commodifiable, marketable. Matter of fact, it's the only damn export, right? It's the only thing that people buy from America. It's America's biggest export, not just hip hop, but black culture. But I'll say hip hop. When you go to other countries, the only thing people give a damn about wanted to get from America, that's black culture. That's hip hop, right?
That's true.
So I don't think it's an accident that same culture is weaponized against us. And I also don't think it's an accident that the collective consciousness, the psyche, the ethos of black people in America, if you look at the difference from in the late 80s to the early 90s, especially when that kind of hardcore, real revolutionary liberation.
Listen, and people don't understand. Public Enemy isn't just a classic rap, but they were platinum. Lynch Mob from the West Coast, platinum. America's Most Wanted, platinum. You know what I'm saying? Death Certificate. You understand what I'm saying? So like, we're not talking to, like, when people be on, I don't care who your favorite daytime radio person is. They're lying if they ever tell you that positive hip hop don't sell. They are lying to you. They always go, nobody wants to hear it. No, nobody wants to hear it. We want to listen to this dude talk about syrup and driving in circles. That's not true. Stop lying, blood. Because all of the OGs were platinum too. That was a systemic thing in the industry.
They got it reversed.
KRS-One, Public Enemy, Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, Lynch Mob, Queen Latifah, Brand Nubian, right out of the game, and they were all selling well.
And there was balance.
This was a hit job on black positive life, man.
Speak on it, and see, here's the reversal that they got to understand. They say the radio plays this because people want to hear it. That's bullshit. How many times have we heard a song and like, oh, that shit was trash? And you hear it a couple times, like, you know what, it's all right. Then you hear it a couple more, you're like, you know what, I can't front, man. That shit is knocking. That beat is knocking. What the radio plays, people are going to develop a taste for, not the other way around.
No, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've played, classic hip hop, classic boom bap, and kids be like, yo, that's dope. What is that? I'd be like, oh, this is the Ghetto Boys. You don't know about the Ghetto Boys? Oh, this is Gangstar. You know what I'm saying?
Hip-hop, what other art has devolved like hip hop in terms of like, bro, if you look at,
but no other art ever had the heights that we had though. Like, you're right? Jazz couldn't make a black man eat better.
Right.
You understand me? Right? Yeah. Right? Rock and roll couldn't make a black man say, you know what? She's a queen.
Yeah.
He's Nubian. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so we have to know that inversion is always in play. You know what I'm saying?
Man. If you look at interviews, go look at old interviews that Cube did, or even Ice-T, and I'm picking them specifically because these was dudes these were gangster rappers. You understand?
Yep.
Look at old interviews of Ice-T in the 80s and the 90s. Look at old interviews of Ice Cube. Listen to them. Look at their vocabulary. Look at the shit that they were saying. Look at they was called the type of analysis.
Willie D.
Dude, they were scholars, man. They were scholars. Now you listen to these mumble mouth, mush mouth, goofballs these days can't even say a damn coherent sentence. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Man,
it's ridiculous.
It's intense. It gets intense. Now, at the same time, I can't front. I do like a lot of the modern production. I like trap music, bro.
Got better, but they have to. The production had to get better for people to
to stomach the trash lyrics.
Right,
yeah.
right. But the dysfunction is the dysfunction. That's why you can listen to something and that shit be knocking. You saying, "Listen, what the hell am I saying? Why am I saying Molly Percocet? Why am I? I don't do Molly and I don't do Percocet. So why am I here? Molly Percocet, Molly." You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is true.
Shit is not an accident.
And that's
and they get
it
rewarded
is really
for that,
ignorant, bro. It
so
is
when
really
you bring
ignorant.
it up, people will say, "Oh well, you know, no, there's some good rap. Look at J. Cole. Look at Kendrick. You got to be a genius. So you got to win a goddamn Pulitzer to get the kind of airplay that the mumble mouth motherfuckers get." How? It's not even that these dudes don't. It's not even that we don't like what they're saying. The shit is trash. So see, you cannot like something but say, okay, that does, it sounds good.
That's kind of knocking.
Stuff is trash.
A lot of it is trash. Although there are a few youngsters that I do like, though. I'm not going to.
Yeah, for sure. So this isn't an indictment.
And the other thing too is one of the things that I got to keep in mind as an OG, right? It's like blood. Like when I was 17, I was in a roller rink with Eazy-E and NWA backstage. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I went to the Fresh Fest, but you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
I was at a 2 Live Crew show when I was 17 backstage, and Brother Marquise was stealing stuff out of people's dressing rooms. And I was like, yo, but I was like, I'm going to get beat up and kicked out but you doing the stealing. Like,
right.
It was just hella silly. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't come from like I was thinking about this whole WAP video thing and everybody acting out. And I was like, some of these ladies in church that are complaining about the WAP song, they used to dance at Freaknik.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, look, don't.
Dude, you remember Akinyele? You remember Akinyele? Come on now. I mean,
man.
Here's my thing, and I don't want to go.
So but I worry about judging them too harshly just because I know what I was on when I was 17 to 25. Man, you know what I'm saying?
Let me say this. So I appreciate you trying to find balance in that. I can say that it's not just about my taste, because I'm not talking about what I like, how it sounds. Right. I'm talking about the destructive. There's no balance. There's no, and it's not even
the lack of balance is the issue. The issue because in our day, you're right.
We still had MC Hammer,
right?
But we also had NWA,
right?
But we also had Public Enemy. It was balanced. Right. So I'm not blaming the young folk. I'm saying the industry. It provides.
The industry has completely hijacked even the value of balance. Even the value of balance
through rewards and punishment. You can create behavior because people are going to do what benefits them. So if I reward you for doing this, you're going to do it more. If I punish you by again not letting you get a deal, then you can't do it. And like I said, to not be on some bullshit, you have to be a fucking genius. Kendrick is a genius. He might be the best rapper of all time. I know it sounds blasphemous to some folks who don't understand, but he's fucking incredible, man.
He's out of control. J. Cole is up there with him.
Why you got it? So look how good they have to be. But you can have somebody like Black Youngster.
Lil Pump. Lil Pump shouldn't exist.
Come on, dude.
Lil Pump shouldn't exist.
I mean, it gets.
And I'm not even mad. I'm hitting on. I'm telling you, 0 bars. Have a seat, bro.
6ix9ine is the biggest rapper right now. What is going on in hip hop?
Yeah, so but to be fair, 6ix9ine is the biggest rapper to a lot of people that don't know rap, and this becomes a problem, right?
But here's the thing. Even I'm talking about like. As far as influence over people and
young
numbers,
minds, that's factology right there.
Yeah,
that's
here's the messed up thing about it, right? There's no, and I know it's not the best, but Instagram, social media can be a metric for estimating somebody's influence, right?
Right.
Like, there's no test that you take to say, okay, if you don't have this base level intelligence, you're out. Your follow doesn't count, right? We got to understand there are a lot of children and young folk and other people who have access to stuff. And these people are big, man. These people are huge. But we just gotta, we gotta get serious about
protecting so now I got a question for you. I got a big question for you.
What you got?
Straight up.
What you got?
What do you think?
One more thing. I almost forgot. The WAP thing, right?
Yeah.
Real quick. Only because I don't want to lose that.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that because I think they would think just as bad and worse.
Yeah. Lil Kim and Foxy Brown ain't new.
Right. I've got a problem with that now being a liberatory thing. Now that being freedom. Now that
but I think that's because you're a dude, though. Right? Like, I think, no, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
Go.
I am never going to, like, look, man, I got daughters, bro. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know. But what I'm noticing, just tell me what you think, is that I feel like every 20 years or so, a black woman or a Latina woman, in the case of Cardi B, right, does something in entertainment that is hypersexual, you know what I'm saying? And the world just always goes crazy. And some people are enraged, some people are sad, some people are turned on, some people are repulsed, and it goes through this whole thing. But what I think this really deals with is that men in general, black men included though, are still wrestling with a free sexual black woman thing. Okay,
No,
I think that that's the thing, and so like I worry that I don't want to be oppressive in her sense of expression. I worry about being that person, right?
I feel you. I've heard that argument. Like I've heard it, and it holds water. But this is what I'm saying. One, that song isn't for me, so I'm not in the position to tell someone what kind of art they can and cannot make. Yeah, and there's way more harmful and violent, and actually violent.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody being harmed from WAP. So I'm not tripping on that. My issue with not only WAP, but with the type of hyper promotion of it is the idea that it is a liberatory thing. That the commodification of a woman's body is a liberatory thing. Because who's
to that end, I feel you to a degree. And what I mean is that, you know, like, and I mean, you know, like Rhapsody will never get the video budget and the promotion. Right. Rock will never get the promotion and the video investment that WAP gets. Right.
But peep me on this, and this isn't in response to you. This is just response in general. Like, if something, it's the same thing I say. If I say I'm against, it's not the same thing, but if I say I'm against anti-blackness, whether it's in blackface or non-blackface, if I'm against the kind of commodification of women's bodies, for me personally, it doesn't matter if it's coming out of a male mouth or a woman's mouth. What I'm saying is, I think society, we've been socialized where if there was a man saying the same stuff she was saying and they were in the background, a lot of people wouldn't have been as mad. And that's bullshit. And that's hypocritical. And they have the right to do that art. I'm not knocking that at all. And I don't even think it's the worst thing. It's not. My issue with it is how this idea that, there's strength and there's power in saying this type of stuff when you look at our community specifically and our children. And again, I'm not holding them to a higher standard than I'm holding men, but I'm holding them to the same standard. And I think because we've seen people be disrespected and abuse women so much, is that we men in society, we get scared of being called, you know,
misogynistic or
called misogynistic. And the thing is, here's the thing, I'll deal with that. I can take that. I can take someone you calling me that. I don't gotta feel like that. I don't have to agree. You can call me that,
but you can say it, right?
But I also have the right to challenge this because I believe this is something that is harmful to young women.
But you already, okay, I was getting ready to ask you about Cardi B anyway. That was actually the next question, was what do you think about Cardi B? Because outside of whatever we can argue about in her lyrics, right? And I don't know if you heard her first album, but I liked her first album. Like in terms of the song theme, you know what I'm saying? That intro was hard. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, I can't name a male rapper who challenged slavery in Libya, who challenged the president on where the taxes are going, who like she jumps on IG and says things that could ruin her career. And there are male rappers who have no remote risk, and she's out speaking them. How am I learning more about and seeing her champion all kind of stuff against racism and sexism over most of your favorite political rappers, most of your favorite quote unquote conscious rappers won't say on live what she'll say on live.
I agree.
That I find troubling. Not because I don't appreciate her. I love that she does it. But then what's happening, bro? Where the brothers at?
My thing
being
is
hella
this.
made out here.
Right. My thing is this. Not only has she spoke up on a lot of issues, she spoke up on things that she said, like, look, I don't know a lot about this, but this is wrong. And she does a great job with that. But to me, a critique of, it ain't even about her. It's about the cultural, except because she's not necessarily saying it's liberatory. It's society. Right. It's society and blogs and all kind of other stuff saying like, this is real power right here.
Right.
You know, I don't think a critique of that is a critique of her as a human
being. Right.
Because her art is not my type of stuff. It's not fun, but that's okay. Like that doesn't invalidate it because I'm probably not in her target demographic, and that's okay because to make good music, like good real music, it's not for everybody. If it's for everybody, then it's
I mean, when like everybody talks about F the police now, but when it first came out, you might get in trouble by your parents for that. You might
100%.
But when it takes a nation of millions to hold us back came out, people saying
there was
noise is not even music. You know,
before white people said you allowed to say this. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's
before white people said you allowed to say it. It was real risk in that. So my thing is,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So because we're about to finish up, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to break down a situation for you, a conversation that I had with a Muslim sister recently, and she wrote me and she was like, what do you think about a lot of the toxic masculinity, like inside of Islam, right? And what do you think about the women who are physically abused, because it happens, right? In all religious houses of worship, there's unfortunately way too much violence, in houses that should be, in theory, spiritually past those kinds of, that kind of stuff, right? And I said, well, here's my theory. The first thing is Black women need to start learning jujitsu. Now, when I said this, she was like, see, this is what I don't like though, right? Like, why? Because I'm not being protected. I got to learn jujitsu when y'all should be protecting us, right? And I said, no, that's fair. However, what we also got to look at is that the men need to be taught jujitsu as well, with a philosophy that celebrates, right, a warrior tradition that honors women. Like, it has to come in tandem. It's not a one-part thing. It's not, women, y'all got to go learn the cross chokes. And brother, no, we both need it. We both need it. I think that it's a problem. I think that if I'm just talking about Black America and the Pan-African diaspora, both learning jujitsu or whatever martial art they want to learn, paired with a warrior tradition that celebrates and honors women and people's right to privacy. Like, without that, we're just going to replicate what these clowns on The Ultimate Fighter did, and that's no good for us either. What do you think about that? She thought that made sense if it were balanced and both were being given, life-giving philosophies and whatnot. What are your thoughts on this pandemic inside Black America?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to go, because I want to focus on the question. I don't want to go too heavy in this, but you started off with religion for a second. So I got to say this. This isn't just about Islam.
Right.
I think if we're honest about the roots of not only patriarchy, but misogyny and sexism, a lot of that, if we really get to the nuts and bolts of it, comes from our understanding and interpretation of some religions. You see what I'm saying?
Of almost all in the West.
Didn't want to say that, but yeah, and so we really,
you know what I'm saying?
Right, because I'm biased, obviously, but we really got to come to grips with that, with how we interpret that, right?
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I think jujitsu is a tool, and it can definitely, as 100%, we've trained a lot of martial arts, so we can say, even unbiased, it's the most effective. You
can hurt somebody if you need to.
For neutralizing someone with a strength disparity.
And I also like it because they're small, right? Because small people can do it and make it work. That's why I choose jiu-jitsu or judo. Those are my defaults for women.
Right, 100%. That's why jiu-jitsu. But if jiu-jitsu never existed, we would still have these problems. If everybody in the world knew jiu-jitsu, unfortunately, we would still have these problems. But the power in women learning it, everybody in the world doesn't know it. I think the overarching thing that we got to focus on is a kind of a rebranding, like I said, a reorienting, a recreation of a righteous masculinity, a protective masculinity as a protective force, but most important, the education of men and boys to not only respect, protect, and not abuse women, but to hold other men accountable. Because the thing is,
that's what I'm talking about in that warrior tradition. That's exactly what I'm saying.
But we've got to do that. With doing that through jiu-jitsu will be a beautiful thing. But even people who don't have access to it, because like I know, jiu-jitsu is a legitimate martial art.
Right? It's expensive.
It's a legitimate martial art. It's not something you can learn quick. Matter of fact, you got to get. You got to look crazy.
It's gonna be at least a year or two before you feel like you can even do it.
Before you even right. And then with the strength and size disparity, you got to really be about that life. It's a journey, right? But I think that as a society, we've really got to get serious about the education of men and boys.
We have to take the reins on that.
Yeah, and if we're talking about black folk, because obviously we're talking about everybody. Right. I'm always from a black perspective, we have to stop waiting on someone else to solve problems that affect our community. Now that doesn't mean we have a monopoly on these problems, or even we have it more.
But we're just responsible for our.
But we have because the onus on us. Because the thing is, when we have half of our people talking about women, half of our people, not actualizing their potential because of oppression or not being able to navigate the world. This is less of us that are in a healthy position to fight the ultimate oppression that we're under. So, even if you're not just doing it for the community, even if you got some self-serving things, your freedom is tied into the freedom ability for everyone else in our community to kind of navigate the world safely and kind of like work together and rock together. Another thing I'll say on that, man, before we get off, if we look at the type of gender stratification and the type of gender warring that goes on online and throughout the world, the type of problems that we have, again, I'm not someone that believes this is divorced from the political and social context that we live in. That doesn't mean that every problem that we have is the fault of some system of oppression,
a white man or whatever, right? There's got to be or despite white supremacy, there's certain things that we should step into and handle, irrespective of its existence or the pressures through it. Yeah,
I agree. But to add on to that, one thing I will say, whether it's the fault of it, I will say every problem that we have is not only exacerbated by that oppression, it serves the interest of people who dominate us. Because so just on that note alone, we need to be taking this stuff seriously.
I agree, man. I agree. So, brother, where can people get at you?
Yeah, man. It's crazy because I used to really not like Instagram, man. But once they kind of developed that live feature where you go live and have
pretty dope. You be doing dope lives, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I'm on there much more so than Facebook. So on Instagram, I'll follow you back long as you about justice.
Of course. Yeah.
It's D'Juan, DJUAN, and 4 underscores. DJUAN 4 underscores. On Facebook, it's D'Juan Owens. So just holler at me. Deez, appreciate you for having me, brother. It's been too long. We gotta stop again. We gotta get these lives popping on the ground.
I know, man. I got a janky phone. We're gonna figure it out.
We'll get it popping.
We're gonna figure it out, man. No, I really appreciate you. Much love to you and for all the stuff you've done. Thank you for all you've contributed to hip hop, to martial arts, to chess. A lot of the promotion you've done for HHCF on your international.
2021, man. We gotta get that tournament.
Yeah, we're gonna launch the new org, man. We launching a new org, and it's gonna be lit.
But we gotta do a tournament, Deez. We gotta do a tournament.
Yeah, man. No. Yeah, absolutely. I that's gonna really be like the new lane for the new org.
There it is. Y'all listen. Yeah. Y'all heard him. We're gonna kick it. He's gonna kick off the new launch. With HHCF.
I think for the first battle, we need to do D'Juan Owens online versus Kadir Latif.
Let's do it.
Or maybe, Amir Suleiman.
Let's do it.
What I'm saying?
Let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? Got to get the OGs out here. You know what I'm saying? Rugged Monk. Have to get Rugged Monk out here putting it down for Watts, bro. You know what I'm saying? West Coast chess players too, bro. It ain't all about y'all. You know what I'm saying? We out here.
We gonna see. We gonna see. Let's
we out here, bro. Ain't nobody scared.
Set it up, baby. All right, D.
Word. I
Again,
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Much
Stay
love
blessed.
and respect, man. Holla
Yeah,
at me.
word. Thank you for being on Bishop Chronicles.
My
Peace.
man. Peace.